Hello, today we meet Fish in Aschaffenburg. You give a concert here today.
Yep.
And we have some small questions for you.
Yes.
You was born in Scotland, I think, in Dalkeith.
Dalkeith.
Yeah.
Dalkeith.
Dalkeith. And the question is, what was your main influence to start being a musician?
I think I liked music when I was a kid. I enjoyed. I remember listening to the Beatles on the radio when I was really young. So that must be kind of 5-year-old, 6-year-old. My mum and dad weren't really into music. They had bits and pieces, but they didn't follow pop bands. And I think it was really, I fell into it through listening to radio. And then I remember listening to Radio Luxembourg on some really old receiver at night. And I think that, and then going to school, and then getting caught up in the whole progressive rocks thing, because it was either progressive rock or glam, and I was far too big to fit into fashionable clothes. So it was like, I moved into progressive rock, and then I think it was the exchange of albums. You know, when you're a kid, you know, be talking about music all the time, and you know, I think watching Rod Stewart and the Faces one day, I came back from a football match. And I went straight in and put the TV on. It was a very first colour television, and I remember watching Rod Stewart and the Faces, and they were having a great time, and he was obviously drunk, and I went, that's the kind of job I want to do.
That sounds funny.
But it took me a long time to become a singer. I mean, I didn't start singing until I was 21.
Yeah, okay. So when you start singing, what was your first band? What kind of music you did?
It was always progressive rock. I mean, the first band I auditioned for was called Not Quite Red Fox. Says it all, really. And but I mean, I think the first proper band was Marillion. I joined in January '81. But it was, and I think we all came from that same age group where we were all listening to the same kind of types of music. That Floyd, Yes, Genesis, kind of Who, kind of thing, you know. And so, you know, I started with them in '81, left them in 1988 after we did 4 great albums. So it was, and I've been solo since 1988, 25 years.
I think I see you last time when the Laurel Ride Festival was Marillion together.
Exactly.
Long time ago.
That was just before I left the band.
Yeah,
it was one of the things. I mean, the thing was, I left the band after we made 4 great albums. We didn't make a shit album when I was in the band, and it was kind of. I think it's been a big problem that's hung about, because everybody keeps going, well, when is he going to go back? Is there a reunion? And the answer to that is no. And it's, but it's, you know, I think I've had a fun solo career. You know, I'm now 10 albums in, and the new album, which is called A Feast of Consequences, has just been released about a month ago. So it's, but it's a different way of dealing, a different business to the one that I signed to in '82. I mean, you know, the album now is just also only available on mail order, and that's it. Because I mean, the retail is so very few retail outlets now, and most of them are just online faces, you know.
Okay.
So
there's one question: what do you think is the difference in the music business now? Because the music business is a lot of changes in the last years. You have a lot of download things. You have a lot of MP3 things. What do you think is changing?
Music is being devalued, and I think it doesn't play as big a place in people's life as it used to, you know. I think it's more of a backdrop. I think since we've gone into buying tracks rather than albums, and buying downloads, you know. I mean, you know, I've never downloaded, and I don't, you know, when I listen to downloads in the bus that the guys have got, you know, it doesn't feel the same. You're just listening to tracks, it's like listening to a best-of album, you know. Yeah. And it doesn't really make sense, if you know what I mean. There's no flows and things. And I make albums. I mean, you know, when I sit down and write, I mean, I don't think about, well, I've got to write 2 killer tracks and then 8 fillers. Yeah. You know, I sit down and work on an album. It took me 6 years to put Feast of Consequences together. Yeah. And it's, but I mean, I think that's one of the things we did with the album as well. I mean, piracy and illegal downloading is destroying us. Yeah. And nobody's helping. Governments are not helping us out. Yeah. And they're quite happy to take our taxes, right? But they're not willing to help us, you know. And it's like, for a lot of us, you know, our copyrights and the publishing streams, you know, that's what we will need in the future when we're old. You know, that's our pension schemes, you know. And it's and all the time they're just getting thinner and thinner because people that just, it's like as if people don't respect the music, they don't understand where it comes from, that it costs money to make, the people get paid and earn a living and pay their mortgages and buy their kids shoes and schools and stuff, you know, off the back. You know, we're not all, you know, Beyonce's and we're not all Robbie Williams, you know, there's a lot of people that are out there that are, you know, genuine professionals, but, you know, with that, you know, you have to adapt, you know, you can't just, you know, the way I work on it is a lot of my fan base are old school. You know, they like the tactile album. You know, they're not downloaders. There are downloaders, obviously, but I mean, you know, we aimed at the people that want the experience of like what you used to get from an old album.
Yeah.
Which is basically, you know, a 100-page book, hardback book with all the lyrics in it and 89 illustrations that Marc Wilkinson's done. And you can read the lyrics and look at the illustrations as you're listening to the album, and then there's the DVD and things, and it's all in a slipcase. And it's something that looks good and feels good, you know. And that's what I used to feel like when I bought albums like Quadrophenia or like, you know, the Yes albums and things, and Lamb Lies There on Broadway. It's like you really felt like you owned something, you know.
Right.
You know. And I think that's gone missing. I think, you know, through the downloads. But you know, again, it's an ever-changing industry. I mean, as I said, I mean, there's no real big record companies now. People don't have to sign to record companies anymore. They can do themselves. I mean, I only, you know, sell my product now through fishheadsclub.com. That's it, bang. Don't use anybody else, you know. And that's the way it's going to stay for a while until, you know, we get, you know, further down the line with this album. And it's because I think it's important. I mean, you've got to maximise your earnings. So it's like if people are buying it direct off you, you keep the price nice, so that I mean, the one thing, if you're working a fan base like that, you've got to respect them. You've got to give them quality stuff. You can't treat them like a cash cow, right. You know. Yeah. And I think that is a secret, the main part of the model of doing, you know, online mail order. It works. And as I said, if the artists are getting paid more for the album, right, then it means it's kind of compensating for what you're losing on the leakage through the piracy. But
I think that's one of the reasons why I always love my old records.
Yeah.
Because you have something, you put it out, you have a booklet, you have all the stuff on it, and it's much greater than to have MP3 on a device. Yeah. Next, and I think last question is when you go now on tour. Most of the bands are on tour because they all have their own problems with the piracy and the other things. So they're all on tour to create money for
which is another problem, because it means that the venues get overloaded because everybody's trying to tour at the moment.
Yeah.
And also a lot of venues are slipping into this thing where they're going, okay, you're selling merchandise at our venues, we want 15%, 20%, 25%. So you know, once again, you know, the artist, you know, seems to be getting, you know, it's like suddenly the ball swings slightly in the artist's favour, and then suddenly the venues just take it all the way, take the pie back again, you know. But it's, I don't enjoy the music business as much. I've never really felt part of the music business, you know, for quite a while now. I mean, I've always felt like I'm living outside of it all, you know, and I'm doing my own little thing outside, and I don't recognise it. I mean, you know, the music industry is just collapsing around us all the time, you know. I mean, when you've got Spotify, I mean, I was sitting in my pub, right, with a couple of musician friends, and we were working out how many streams you would have to get to buy a pint of beer.
Yeah, yeah.
I worked out at 260,000.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, yeah. I know what you mean.
And, you know, that's for my songs. But who's making the money? It's the guy that owns Spotify who's selling the adverts.
Yeah, yeah, right.
And the money that's been made is not coming back to the artists. It's not coming back to the writers. You know, Dennis, like I said, it's an internal problem. But I mean, it's not going to be mine. I mean, I'm looking at elsewhere, and you know, I mean, I'll still be touring. You know, whether I make albums, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next year and a half.
When you talk about that, because you talk about the pub,
yeah.
So I have one last question. As a whiskey collector, what's your famous Scottish whiskey?
To be honest, I'm not a big whiskey drinker.
You're not?
No, it makes me very aggressive.
Okay.
Not a good thing. I don't really I like a sip every now and again, but my favourite used to be Macallan's, you know, or Glenlivet's.
Yeah.
Things, I used to like that.
So we are similar.
No. I mean, yeah, you kind of know them, but I mean, like I said, I'm not, you know, I have a bottle of whiskey in the house, you know, which is for guests, and it's never opened, you know, it just stays there, you know, so it's the best place for it. I mean, I tend to be more of a wine drinker myself.
Yeah.
It's cool. So we're getting older.
Okay,
Right,
thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Marc.
Nice to meet you.